most magical, crazy little radio station in the whole wide world.
Well, that's amazing, isn't it? Hello, hi, this is Lioness. We're here talking live today with Maryanne Spencer. Hello, Maryanne. I can see a little picture of you looking very relaxed there in the corner. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show tonight and giving the Bayliss Boys and the two abducted little girls a voice. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, well, this isn't actually my show. I'm just standing in and helping and doing a little bit of an interviewing for them because I think something happened with one of their interviewers and they've had to go off. So you've got the short story, you've got me, but I try not to be too mean to you despite being called a lioness. No, you've got a story about abducted and trafficked children in the UK.
I do.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. Would you like to sort of start us off, and then perhaps I can ask you some questions later? I know this is a sort of a very emotive subject, and perhaps I could just mention that this show, when it goes out later, if it goes on my show, that will be in the 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and there are children listening, so I always have to just sort of give a language alert before we go any further, because I haven't got that much time for editing.
I've already done that this afternoon, and I'm completely banned myself from swear words. What I'd like to do is start off reading an SOS from the 17-year-old, who's one of the two abducted Bayliss boys. I found 4 children located at the property 137 Edgar Road Flat. It's known as Twickenham, but the correct area is Witten Hounslow, and the postcode is TW4 5QP, and I've actually attended these flats. But as I said, the first thing I'd like to do is give Kevin Bayliss a voice. I'm going to read an SOS that he sent out to me the day after I visited the flats, which was last Saturday. He is dyslexic, so I am going to read exactly how he's read it. There is one swear word in it, and I'll just say the F word, but there's one, but as I said, I won't say it. SOS from Kevin. On Saturday, the 2nd August, we were going to be freed, but the 2 girls were being sold. The singing angel interrupted the sale of girls. It caused a long standoff. But after 2-3 hours, singing angel was forced to leave. She was not there for wasting time. She saved the girls. Thank you. Trouble is now starting for me and Genevieve. We are now in danger more than before. Please help people. Trouble always finds us when Mom starts looking for us. They don't want us to go home. They tell people money is wanted by police. They spread lies. Our lives is hell without my mother, and we're forced to say we don't want her in our lives. No one in Britain cares. They rather look to the ground. The people who dare to care get treated like they're mad to want to help or get claimed to be a fake identity of our mom. If anyone reading this thinks stopping is going to make us safe, you are wrong. Since October 2011, we were not allowed any contact with our parents. Reason claimed, unless Mom stopped talking about Dad and stopped telling people about Neeson, she is inflicting emotional harm on us. The professional opinion of Charles Olivier and people he pay. We spoke to Mom less than 5 times under very intimidated circumstances, never got her letters or photos, as she is in denial, they claimed. We are suffering mental abuse daily, drinking numbs pain. Parental alienation happens by non-parents. We love our parents, but it's not allowed to tell them. Self-harm is sometimes the only way to stop our feelings of missing her. Blaming her and Dad sometimes help us through the day. I had a total of 3 years with no abuse in my life. Don't F my brother's life up too. Please help us, or must we effing die before you give us to our mommy? Please help us put our faces out there. We want to go home. Thank you for reading.
Right.
What do you say to that?
And he sent this to you on Saturday?
No, I attended property on Saturday. I've been aware of this I started getting involved in it over a year ago. But as I said, I'll describe what I saw when I attended the property. I live outside of Oxford. I drove down. You go through heading towards Heathrow 123, and then when you get on the A314, you turn a right on Stinson, a left on Edgar Road. On the right, on Stinson Road, there's a park. Down on the A314, there's a little mini Tesco's. They're blocked down. In near Edgar Road, it's a council estate. There's blocks of flats. Third block of flats down on the left. Up on the third floor, second in from the right, red door. I've taken a picture of the door. I buzzed the flat door 6 times. Left a bit in between. One answered. I thought, right, I'm going to get into the flats. I waited until someone was going in who lived there and slipped in behind them. Went up to the door. I saw 2 cigarette lighters, fresh out of ashtrays, fresh ashtray of butts. Looked in the door. I called my friend to say I'm here, I'm arrived, I'm safe. I tootled in the letterbox, cooey, looking for Kevin and Genevieve. No answer. Then I was out on the flat having a fag, and a white van pulled up. And the chap in the driver's seat was on his phone. He was immediately looking up at me. As soon as he turned into Edgar, locked on to me, parked in front of me, and said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm looking for Kevin and Genevieve Bayliss. There's 4 adopted children in the flat. I'm also looking for Dennis Gordon-Neeson, who's an international child trafficker, who's the present-day Jimmy Savile, basically, to present-day MPs. No, I know him. He's a nice man. Oh, he's moved to Richard. I sensed something wrong about this guy. That's the only way I can put it. And I thought, I'm not being cornered up on this flat. So I went down towards my car that was in the parking lot. And I looked at the van, and there was a young man in it with him also. And he looked really nervous. And the thought just crossed my mind. This looks like the type of van that they chuck people in the back of. And I thought, yeah, 3 feet space. You're dangerous, mate. I moved my car over to on Edgar Road, and then I thought, right, I'm going to have a chat with you now, because I felt like he was blocking me in the way he parked the van. And he was a bit of an intimidating character, and he was quite beefy, about 5'9". I've given a description of him in my witness statement. So we went on to discuss Mr. Neeson. He said, oh, he's always over in the park, just across the road, walking his dog this time. You should go over. He was pretty determined to get me away from the flats. And I said, no, mate, I'm just going to stay here. I'm fine. So I went by. He left eventually in his white van with his little chum. He did return later on in a different car. But meanwhile, I sat watching the flats, and then no one had come and gone up and down the stairs, but this woman came out. So I approached her. I said, excuse me, I'm looking for, oh, I forgot to say, while I was up on, before I spoke with the guy in the van up in the balcony, I knocked the neighbor's door. Foreign woman answered. I said, hello, have you seen Kevin and Genevieve Bayliss? She knew who I meant. I described them to her. She said, yes, I haven't seen them today. I've been in doors all day. So not implying she hasn't seen them for a long time, just not today. Now, when I called out to the woman who came out of the flat, she was about mid-20s, maybe early 30s, but rather plump. And I called and I asked her, I'm looking for Kevin and Genevieve Bayliss. Oh, no, we're the new tenants. They moved to Wooten, but the next neighbor told me this was an emergency accommodation flat from the council, so it was impossible for her to have met the tenants if they had left in November, if you catch what I'm saying, because they were gone long before she was in, because that's the way emergency accommodation works. So I thought, right, you're lying. She went, and they chain smoking on phone and just looking nervous. Then a young bloke came out, which is their partner. So I said the same thing, excuse me, sorry to interrupt you, but how long have you lived in this flat? And he looked up to the sky looking for the lie, and he said, oh, well, my partner moved in here in November. I said, okay, sorry to interrupt you. But meanwhile, every neighborhood person that's coming by, I'm informing them there's 4 abducted children in that flat, and I've seen Kevin up in the bathroom window. I know the children there, and plus I have communication with one of them.
Well, do you mind if I just ask you then, if I just sort of pause the story there, just to catch up, how did you determine that at the time when you were there Saturday, there were 4 abducted children in that flat?
How I determined it was seeing Kevin in the window and being in contact with Kevin and what he told me. I've been in contact with the 2 Baylis Boys via whichever internet connection. So they are the ones who have told me that there's 2 little girls also in the flat. They've told me they're 9 and 12. So
Right.
on
You've
that
got
day,
email connection. You have an email connection with these boys.
no, it's not an email connection. It's I don't wish to disclose it, but I'm able to contact them via internet connections, for want of a better word.
Well, I think it's okay to say, you know, if it's Yahoo or it's something like that. It's just nice to know that they have access, you know, they're not just completely cut off.
No, but the thing is, I wish I could say, because I can't give away what's going on. I'm sorry, with regards to how they get access, but they seek it, basically, for want of a better word. It's the best way I can put it to you. And right now they're being watched. They're being watched 24/7, because apparently, as the whole unaware to myself, those 2 little girls were being sold for £2,000 each. Now, the original, the children were abducted from Mexico. Their parents are South African. Yeah, the 2 boys. The girls were also abducted from Mexico. I've got parentis locus granted by all the parents for these children, so I have parental rights over them in this country, and I'm to fly them back to Mexico to give them back to their parents, basically.
So how did that happen? How did you get that?
Well, I became aware of the missing Baylis Boys, and the thing is, this house, I'll explain that in 2 seconds. This house, that's emergency accommodation in the council, it was granted to Dennis Gordon Neeson in August of 2012 for indefinite time period due to quote-unquote special circumstances. The special circumstances are that it's a child trafficking den. It's a brothel for children. The children are being sold from there, they're being photographed in there, they're being raped in there. And the thing with these 2 Bayliss boys is why they're such a prize is they've been buggered by Vince Cable MP and Jeff Hu. So they're present-day witnesses to present-day pedophiles in present-day government, basically.
Okay,
so,
you started by telling me how you got to be in local parentis from the parents. How did that come about? How did you meet the parents and get into the position where you're their only trusted person?
Well, it's serendipity, whatever you want to call it. I found this Facebook site of this lovely lady selling sweeties and handmade dresses. This is Marina the mum, the South African cop. She's an amazing baker, an amazing seamstress, and this is how she keeps things going. This is how she earns a living in Mexico. So I was going to buy a dress for my daughter, and we got to chatting. And it turns out, funny enough, we have I suppose a sixth sense way, a lot in common. I understand a lot of the things that she's talking about from my own background. So it was just by chance that we started chatting, and then she started opening up about the reality of her children's situation. So I have a bit of a legal background myself. I took it upon myself to file it last year in May. I filed a writ of habeas corpus with the Royal Courts of Justice. And all hell broke loose in my life. The witness intimidation was outrageous. I mean, dirty police at what's happened to Spivvy recently? This was last May, this was happening. Dirty police at my...
Go back a little bit. Sorry, I'm just, because if I don't get to one point, my head keeps jumping me back and jumping me back and jumping me back. I'm like this little terrier, you know? I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm always like this.
No, please do. I'm here to answer your questions.
Have you met the parents?
I've Skyped with them, and I've been in contact with them over internet connections over the past year and a half.
All right, so similar to the way we're sort of meeting now. Hello. Yeah, cool. So, and they have asked you to be local present, and they have given you legal documentation to do that, or have you sort of thought, well, you can help them by doing this and deliver them the children as a nice little package sort of thing? I mean, are you doing it because they've asked you to do it, or are you offering to do it because you feel passionately about this?
Well, both, actually. I feel very passionate about this. I was associated with Brian Haw, and my family history goes very much, I suppose, into activism for positive change and seeking solutions, really. Resolving problems is what it's all about. We have to first acknowledge the problem. So it was my choice to get involved with filing the writ of habeas corpus because it was the right thing to do. Produce the children, explain why they're being detained, because I know that they're under a protection order from The Hague that was granted the first time they were abducted. These children have been abducted twice. So, and also the parents have asked me to do it because they know I'm in it to win it. I've weighed in. I'm a mom, and it's my intention. The children must be free. They must be set free from the UK. They must be delivered back to their parents, and then it needs to happen safely. It needs responsible adults, and that's me.
Okay. So really, the only information you've got about it has come from the mum. The mum? Is she Marina or Myrna? How do you pronounce that name?
Marina.
Marina. All right. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. I like that. Marina.
Thank you.
Cool.
So I have.
And
she's Baylis. Pardon?
I'm sorry. She's Marina Baylis.
Her name is Marina Duplessis Baylis.
Right. Okay. But previously she was. I've forgotten his name. The other guy, the one who's got the children now. She was married to him. Neil Nissen.
No, she was never married to him. That's a falsehood.
So all her wedding photos and everything are all falsehood.
Yes.
And the videos of her with her husband and the children in the swimming pools and everything. That's all fake.
The video, no, that's not fake. The thing is, she was. Now this is where, okay, if we go back to the beginning of the story and how this happened. Marina, okay, she's married. You've got Marina. She was Marina Duplessis. That's her maiden name, and Baylis is her maiden name. So her husband is Jeremy Baylis. Okay, so those are the two parties. So you've got Marina Duplessis Baylis, Jeremy Baylis. That's mum and dad. The DNA supplied to The Hague proves that they're both the biological parents. Now, Marina was investigating, well, how it happened. There's an excellent site on Butland Cat. I put it up on Salem News. It describes exactly all this, because there's a lot of people who've been aware of this situation for quite a while. But to make a long story short, she was basically cottoned on to child trafficking. She's a South African cop. She's investigating it. She's picked up her son from daycare, gets sideswiped, wound up in the UK in chains. She's now being trafficked. So this is the first.
So how did she get here in that? How did she get here? How did she get her here in chains? That sounds very serious. That's worrying. Well, worrying is a bit of a pathetic word, isn't it? Sorry, that sounds terrifying.
This is how trafficking happens, though. I mean, it takes a lot of people complicit, a lot of people in the right place. So you need people in border control. As she said, she was drugged. So you need people in border.
And you need people. Been on the plane?
Yes.
She had to be on the plane. So would they have hired a 3-seater, 4-seater plane to bring in a private plane, or would it have been a passenger? I'm just thinking the logistics of having a fully grown woman who's drugged and to get her all the way from Mexico to here, drugged and in chains without any.
No, she wasn't in chains in transportation. She woke up in the UK in chains. So what she's saying, yeah, no trouble. So what she's saying is, she's got in a car accident. She's bang out for whatever drugs were given to her. She's then in a drug state, so she could have appeared like somebody drunk getting on a plane or whatever with a and the baby, and so she's on it could have been a normal passenger jet for all we know. So she's been but it would have the thing is, it would have taken the complicity of border agents and people in key places, I would assume. I don't know this, I'm only making assumptions. But regardless, the story is she wakes up here, she's chained to the wall, her baby's there, and they're both being trafficked. Now, Jeremy, the father, comes over. He's an ex-U.S. Navy SEAL. Okay. Now, keep in mind, they've had the boys now. Theresa May is responsible for changing the identity of these boys against the Hague Order. Their surnames of Baylis. I have their original birth certificates, PDF forms, color. has changed them to Neeson. False passports, false documents have been issued in their name. So when Maryanne came over here, keep in mind, she had no passport. She'd go to the authorities. I grew up in a Freemason family, so I understand this. My mom used to escape with me and my brother and and it would be the police that would bring us back. They behaved very much like mafia. So she's over here in this country. There's no one she can call out to. And as I experienced in Twickenham on Saturday, you know, I was expecting good police to come out, and they covered up. They said, oh, it wasn't those people, it was the former residents. They were conspiring with the hostage takers of the present children in saying that there was no, they didn't go in the flat. They didn't bother to check the flat. They said it was the pastors who did it. So now Maryanne's, getting back to the abducted mum, she's had another child while she's been in captivity, basically. But as I said, later on down the road, the DNA test did prove it was Jeremy's, because when Neeson goes off on his little child abuse test on the boat, which they do, Jeremy would sneak in and try and spend time, because that's what it was. That's the reality of their situation. As far-flung as it sounds, that's what happened. The children were rescued.
Can I just ask something which seems to be a logical question then? If she was trafficked over here, and she was in the wall and she was kept under her, you know, against her will and drugged, and it's sort of this dramatic, horrible journey. How did he find out where she was? How could he get to her? Who opened the door? Who let her in?
Because if you look at SAS and Navy SEAL training, these people go into countries and do amazing things. Where there's a will, there's a way. They've got technology way beyond my level, mate. And the thing is, if I can go find that flat, the technology that they're operating at a different level. Interpol they have a different access to different information. If they want to find, I believe, if they want to find something else, they can. From whether it's a satellite, they can read my newspaper down on the ground. Regardless, they found them. How they found them, what I'm told, is that somebody had rented out, basically, Maryanne and child, and then had contacted Jeremy, and they got rescued over back to Mexico. They were put under humanitarian protection, the whole family. Kevin Bayliss protection order, I have up on site. It's pretty horrendous when you read it. And then I've also got, as I said, from back last fall, when I've got involved in filed a writ of habeas corpus, which was, I have the case number, it is a real case, it did happen. They did try and steer me into family court, though, because it should have been open court, but the reason they wanted to do that, I believe, and why I refused to attend, was that A, they wanted to put a gag order on me, which they would have been able to achieve, and B, my daughter was also underage at that time, and the harassment I had at the time, a filed writ of habeas corpus from social services towards my daughter was outrageous. So I wasn't willing to risk going into a family court for the writ of habeas corpus of the Bayliss Boys last May because A, I thought I was going to be gagged, and B, I thought I'd risk losing my own child.
Okay. Do you have that case number then? Because perhaps somebody who's more legally trained could go in and help you out with that.
Well, the thing is,
if you can give me the case number, I'd be more than happy to have a look at that for you, because that's what I do.
Okay.
I investigate everything.
I will quite have, I'm not sure if I've got it up on this side. I know I've got it up on another, but I will definitely give you that. I'm not going to dig it out, obviously, right now, but I'll give you that case number. But what I will tell you is anyone who's gotten involved in this case, the harassment they've been put under is insane. And that's just the way it is. Because what's happened is the UK ambassador to Mexico, what I'm expecting and what I'm asking, because the question on my mind and on other people's mind, like first I questioned like yourself, is this real? Is this happening? Do these Bayliss children exist? Are they in this address? And when I filed the writ of habeas corpus, and obviously accepted because those children exist, the harassment that I've got, obviously, because there was a problem around this. It's irregular to file the writ of habeas corpus before, and I didn't have that harassment. I had police at my door demanding to come in without a warrant, if I didn't let them in, they said, we're going to arrest you. We want to see your files. It was a nightmare last year. It absolutely was. It was extremely intimidating. It's not untoward the way, as I said, they've treated Chris Spivey. And people have asked me, well, why don't you just call the police and report them at this address? Well, last year when I was talking to the police regarding this, it tiptoed on, shall we try and section her? And my attitude towards that, I said, well, I'm asking you the question. I have this information. I'm questioning it. I want to know, is this true? Are these two boys in this country? Were they abducted this time, October 11th, by Judith McGregor with the UK Embassy in Mexico? She's responsible, I'm told, and what I'm asking for proof and evidence of also the question in my mind is where's the evidence? I'm told that Judith McGregor is sitting in Mexican clink because she was caught with 20,000 passports and child trafficking. Now, I've asked for the evidence.
Sorry, who is she?
She was complicit. She was complicit when the Baylis Boys were kidnapped last October 2011 from Mexico. They were taken to the UK Embassy in Mexico. So the people responsible for that abduction are the former UK ambassador to Mexico, that's Judith McGregor. I'm told she's sitting in clink. Dennis Gordon-Neeson, the internationally wanted child trafficker, he's wanted in South Africa, he's wanted in Mexico, but he's been harbored here. He flew to Mexico. The people he were involved with, that named Charles Olivier, that Kevin mentioned in his SOS message, he works for the City of London, some shrink who's really good at doing parental alienation. So, in a pedo ring, you've got people in all sorts of different key positions. So, unfortunately, this is what I believe to be the top pedo ring, because you've got, I believe, the kids were abducted because they're witnesses against Vince Cable MP and Jeff Hoon. I'm told from Kevin Bayliss that he's been buggered by these men. He's been raped by them.
This boy would recognise them, would he? This young lad recognises these MPs.
Yes. Well, he's 17. He's only spent 3 years, as his letter said, he's only spent 3 years of his life out of captivity. He was rescued. He had a little bit of time before he was abducted when he was a baby. He had that brief time from when they were rescued to when they were abducted the second time. He's lived, out of his 17 years, only 3 years out of captivity. And that's why at the bottom of his letter, he's saying, don't do this to my little brother. Because I've got a conversation that I put up also online between me and the two children, and it's heartbreaking, it's heart-wrenching. They're scared because they've not come forward and come public. Witnesses get disappeared. Hence why I think what I witnessed on Saturday, I think I actually did disrupt those two little girls being sold from that property because that guy was dodgy and there was dodgy SHIT going on. And see, I'm being really good minding my language because usually the subject gives me Tourette's and I'm being most well behaved.
I can understand it. It's a very emotional subject. I'm a mother too. We're all mums together in this. We understand what it's like when children are under threat. You say they were abducted from Mexico and brought back, but was there a court hearing? Was there something that there were documents that said they should be back with their father, or they should stay there, or why were they taken back and brought their father? England.
No,
why did they come to England anyway?
Excuse me, they weren't brought back to their father. They were brought back to the abductor, the international child trafficker, Dennis Gordon-Neeson. He is not their father. I will make that clear.
Yeah.
The DNA evidence. No, that's okay. The DNA evidence proves that Jeremy Bayliss is the biological father of both these children. Now, so in answer to your question, when they were brought back here, who would have been complicit? Well, last week, The Hague made another order for the UK to immediately release these children. There's been people who've been trying, there's been people trying to get in this country to enforce it, but the trouble is you've got people in Well, first of all, Theresa May, why would she last week put a no-fly order on the Baylis Boys? The Hague made an order to immediately release the children. Theresa May made an order that there's a no-fly on the boys. And keep in mind, Theresa May.
That's something I can check for you. That's something I can put out from you. If you can give me the details on that too, if you can give me a link to it, because you must have the documentation that there was a Hague order. So if you've got that, you can get me back to me, and I can look into that for you. I can do that tomorrow. This evening.
Yes, that's the thing. These things all need confirmation. I agree 100% with you. 100%.
So Theresa May, I'm typing as you said, they put a no-flight order on the boys on yesterday. Did you say?
No, not yesterday, last week.
Last week, okay. And something about the Hague and a Hague order.
The Hague issued. No, that's okay.
I'm typing at the same time so I don't forget what you say.
No trouble.
So the Hague
There's already, well, first of all, there's already, which is online, there's already a Hague order protecting the family, and I put up Kevin Bayliss' Hague order, so I can give you that straight away. Then, as I said, the Hague after this last week, they issued another order for the UK to immediately release the children. Because the thing is that these are children we're talking about, and they're being trafficked. You know, from what I'm told from the two boys, there's a 9 and a 12-year-old girl in the premises, and the two boys are 14 and 17. You know, they're being raped, they're being trafficked. And from what I understand from last Saturday, I interrupted the sale of the two little girls. And that's pretty shocking stuff. And the thing is, when you go on the state, it just looks like any other state, but that's how they get away with it. It's right in plain sight, hidden under everybody's noses.
Right, okay. That's why I'm having trouble with this, because it's so confusing and it's just so shocking. It's just so awful, isn't it? It's just so awful.
Well, it's really shocking, and it's a big story to wrap your mind around. But what you've got to realize, the pedo ring that leads to 10 Downing Street, and it's saying, you know, I'm saying that 10 Downing Street is involved in child trafficking. That's what I'm here saying. Without a shadow of a doubt, because in my estimation, as I said, I want to see the Mexican government, Mexican media come forward. I want to see evidence that Judith McGregor, me personally, the big question in my mind is I want to see evidence that Judith McGregor is being held in Mexican clink, because mainstream media will say she's working in South Africa, she's in Zimbabwe or someone else, but I'm getting conflicting stories. It's my belief that she is in clink. I think they're playing tit for tat. I think this is an international crisis going on, to be perfectly honest.
So this conflicting evidence you're getting, the evidence you're getting, is it all coming from the mum?
No. I do my own research, obviously.
So where have you got the information that she's in jail?
Well, this is what I'm saying. I've got two trains of evidence for her being in jail. So one I'm not going to disclose. But as I said, I'm looking forward to, the media is supposed to be coming out to Marina tomorrow, and what I've asked her and what I think needs to be confirmed, because I think that it'll put rest a lot about this story, is I think it needs to be confirmed, is the UK ambassador, or UK ambassador to Mexico, Judith McGregor, is she in clink or not? That's what I think the world needs to know, because if that can be confirmed, then it just makes the whole thing fall apart. I understand that, because we can't confirm that one thing. It's such a vital key element to the whole child trafficking story, because she's the one who was responsible for the abduction. So that needs to be either proved or denied, either way. So either way, I'd like to see a picture of her somewhere else free floating around, or I'd like to see a picture of her in jail. That's my logic speaking personally. I can only go by what I've seen. I can go by what I've told. I can go by what I've researched. I go by the legal documents that I have within my hands. What I witnessed and what I experienced last Saturday was horrendous, mate. Because it was like watching a pedophile in action. Because people up on the balcony, these were the ones, because the situation's getting so hot, Dennis Gordon-Neeson is flown the coop, I believe, more fugitive. He can't leave the country because other pedo rings would like to kill him. He just knows too damn much, and I think he's going to be Dr. Kelly, to be honest. Now, so he's got these two Muppets basically holding the children, and I think they're thinking, oh, let's get rid of two little girls. Now, when I was there, I had the chap in the van. He spoke direct, so he was somehow a part of this. Now, when I went over to the park, as I put my statement, I was busting for a wee, so I went over to the park, had a wee, and I was watching to see when the police were coming, because after the chap, the guy came out, had a smoke. I asked him how long he lived there. He went back in. Then he came back out again, and he said, come up here. And I said, no. I said, how about you send the abducted children down? And he started calling me every name under the book, a lot of expletives. And then he said, I'm going to call the police. And I said, well, please do, because I'd like them to attend the residence. I want to ascertain exactly who's in that residence with you. So as I said, I popped over the park, and because I could watch the entrance to Edgar Road. I spoke to this Muslim lady while all this kerfuffle was going on earlier on, and she came over and she was speaking to me, and I explained to her what the situation was in my estimation. When I went to the park, I saw this little Muslim lady, and she went over and spoke to the police officers. It was a station wagon, and I called her over, and I said, what did they say? She said, they said it was the former tenants. It was nothing to do with the new tenants. And I thought that's just covering, and that they didn't go into the property. But also, while I was in the park, I noticed this chap, and he was sitting over on a far bench, an Asian dude in a suit jacket, but he was watching the same entrance I was watching. Eventually, I went over and sat beside him, and he said, are you waiting for someone? And I said, why, yes, I am. And then he got on his phone, walked away to the nearest entrance just to the left, and I thought, something's not right here. So I put some distance between me and him, and then sure as shoot, the chap who was up on the balcony, he showed up at the park. So the second guy who came up, who's had a partner, a woman who I'm accusing of being two hostage takers of these 4 children, he came over to the park because it was the Asian dude who called him to say that I was there. So something was going on, mate. Something was going on. And as I said, I saw Kevin up in the window. I know what I saw. I know what I saw.
So in the window, when you were up on the balcony?
No, when I was down on the street, not the street level, on the parking lot level, if you look up in the top, I think is it called a masonette, where you've got 2 floors?
Yeah,
you know
I
what I mean?
So.
Yeah, I think so. It was in the top window, which is, I believe, the bathroom. I'm not sure. I haven't been in the property, but that's the window I saw him in.
And he didn't open the window or shout or anything?
No, well, you've got to, I suppose, get inside the mentality of what it's like being a hostage and being captive and being scared for your life, isn't it? And at the end of the day, what can I do? There's two people between what I consider me and these 4 children. So what can I physically do? I bust in the property. It needed, at the very least, to put everybody's mind to rest. At the very least, the police should attend the property, enter the property, and ascertain: are there children in there? Are there not children in there? Are the Baylis Boys in there? Are they not in there? Have the Baylis Boys been abducted for hate protection order on them? Have they been ordered to immediately reach by the UK? Or have they not? Is the UK ambassador to Mexico former in Clink? Is she not? These are questions, and I think they all need answering, personally.
Do you think that it was your responsibility to find the answers to those questions before you went to an anonymous flat and started telling all the neighbours that there is an abductor and a child rapist, etc., blah, blah, to everybody that you met. Do you think perhaps those issues should have been addressed?
No.
Even before you come into the media here, because, you know, it's a heck of a claim to make, and it's a heck of an allegation to make. If, like you've just said, you know, there are questions that you still need answers to, and your information sort of just comes from the mom. It's just worrying that it does look like there could be other. Oh, I don't know what's the word. Other alternative ways of looking at what happened on Saturday.
Well, see, the thing is, it's not just coming from the mum. I've spoken to Kevin and Genevieve Baylis also. So it's, you know, I think it's pretty shameful in today's society when you've got two victims of child trafficking coming forward. I'm speaking for those two children. No disrespect, but we all have our opinions. But irrelevant of opinions, I've spoken to two children who've told me they're abducted. They're begging to be freed, okay? I've gone to the premises. I've seen mad SHIT happening right before my eyes. That makes no sense to me. So I'm going to err on the side of caution and say that property needs to be investigated. Now, you might think it's a little codswallop, and that's your choice.
No, not at all. I'm just trying to...
No, please, let me finish. What I'm saying is I've spoken to two children who are scared and have come forward. Now, I think they deserve to be heard. I just think the public needs that property attended to determine whether or not it is the child brothel that I'm telling that it is.
I think there's certainly a case that if the police have been called, there is a responsibility then. It would be negligent if they haven't followed up on information you've given them. And I can tell you now, today, to show that I'm not antagonistic towards you, I took this story myself today, this afternoon, just after lunchtime, to the police.
Excellent.
I went to the police with a recording of the story you did on the Irish show last night, and a bit of information that I got, and some evidence and photographs and a lot, and I took the story and saying there are these allegations because I was concerned after last night. It appeared to be that mob rule was taking over. You know, let's go out and go on a pedo hunt. These pedos, get all these people together and bash down doors and go in. And I thought it was getting a little bit out of hand, and I think possibly you did too, because you went off to have a fag and a coffee, and it sort of got a little bit emotional, didn't it? I heard it, and I was concerned, and I went to the police station and I said, I'm an investigative journalist, I do, you know, I have a radio show, I do this thing. There's this one saying, kids in the dress, here's children, this is what happened, you know, what will it take to find out yay or nay? What will you do? And he said to me, and I'm quoting you, I am not interested. And I said to him, do you mind if I record this? And he said, yes, I do. And I said, why? And he said, because it's against the law. And I said to him, what law is that against then? And he said, it's against my law, which I ignored and carried on and got out my recording thing. And he got up and he walked out. And he walked up the corridor and left me just standing in the room, in the interview room where I'd been asking him questions. And then he shouted back at me, if you've got a problem with the internet, tell them and they'll deal with her. And he walked off. And that was that. And I was quite surprised, so I went round, because I would have normally written down, even if the officer with his number on his shoulder, I would normally have made notes. I wanted to say what I'd come there to say first, and didn't think they'd be antagonistic at all. And so I went round to the front desk and I said, well, I rung the bell and the woman came out again, and I said, could you just tell me the name of who that was I was talking to? And she said, no. And I said, why?
Yes, why?
She turned around, opened the door, went through it, and slammed it in my face. And that was that.
Rather an odd reaction.
I'm not interested, he said. And I said, who was that cop? And will you tell me his number? Or no. So next port of call will be to report that to my MP tomorrow, but I've been a bit busy today. But yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. But so yes, I'm on the case, but whatever I find out, good, bad, ugly or indifferent, I will bring the truth out and I will find that. So anyone that's, you know, a little bit, I don't know, what should we say, creative with the truth will be found out by me one way or another. And that's right, isn't it? That's how it should be.
Well, the thing is my concern, and why I'm speaking to this evening, is for these children. And the truth of what they're saying, what I believe is, I happen to believe these children. I happen to believe that Kevin is saying he's been abducted, he's been raped, he's been trafficked, so is his little brother, and it's hell.
Can I ask you an uncomfortable question? This isn't about you. This is about the situation, and I know it might be uncomfortable to you to hear me ask this, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody here, but not going with gut feeling, not going with emotion, but cold, hard forensic facts. How do you know that the information you've received from the boys is from them and is not from their mother pretending it's from them?
Kevin put up, well, first of all, Kevin's dyslexic, and you can really tell that when you talk to him and when you read things he writes. And last week,
anyone could do that.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. What I'll put to you, Kevin posted some pictures of burning shirts on a barbecue. And I questioned him. I said, what am I seeing? What is this? And his response was, that's how I get the pedo off of me. So, in other words, when pedos touch him, or he gets molested.
But can you see that doesn't answer my question?
No. I'm just trying to answer as best as I can. Okay. Yeah. I can't. There's no way I can prove to you that, as you said, it could be Joe blogs, whoever, whatever. But it's only because I've spoken to them over time, and I believe them to be who they are and their personalities. And as I said, I found it very distressing when Kevin, who I believe to be Kevin Baylis, put up a picture on the internet and explained why he burned the shirts, because it was how he felt he got the pedo off him, like how rape victims go and scrub themselves out of the shower. I think it's his therapy, and I think he was being very brave at coming forward with that. So in answer to your question, I can't prove that this isn't all coming from Marina. It seems to be the scapegoat. I can't prove that. But what I can say to you is that I've spoken to Kevin and Denby, and they're, in my mind, definitely two separate characters. They come across different, and they're pretty much age appropriate to their situation, for want of a better word. So I would say, in my mind, like, it's no different when I, speak to my 26-year-old daughter typing, or when I speak to my 20-year-old son. Like, they're different. They speak differently. They use different words. So, yeah, fair enough, this could be some grand concocted scheme, but wouldn't it be ideal if the police simply went in, found out, and let's have the truth once and for all? As you said, when you went in this, because that's why I originally filed the writ of habeas corpus, because what if this is the truth? That's the question. What if this is the truth? What if that house is being used? It is granted to Dennis Gordon Mason, an international child trafficker, to use to traffic children. What if
that did you get that information from?
What the house was, which I was the neighbor, as I said, on Saturday, when I knocked the neighbor's house, she's the one who told me that the accommodation was a temporary emergency accommodation through the council.
But she didn't say it had been rented by an MP, did she?
No.
You got that from the mother.
That's information coming through the mother.
Can I just ask then, the internet communication that you have with the boys that you're prepared to disclose what type it is that the same type that you use with the information from the mother as well?
I'm not going to disclose that. As I said, I'm not going to speak about how I connect to the boys.
No, I'm just saying, is it the same process? You know, if they're all using Yahoo or other, I'm not asking what they're doing.
I'm not going to disclose anything.
I think where I'm going with this is I'm going to say, if it turns out that you have your care and your concern, your kindness, your commitment to do the right thing for children, it turns out that maybe you've been manipulated by this mother in order to get children that perhaps she really doesn't have a legal right to. How will you feel? How will you feel about it?
No,
you know when you get a real gut feeling that you've got such a good heart and you're so committed to this that you're not seeing so many holes in this and so many facts that are missing and so many things that don't add up. They really don't. But if you looked at it from, you know, someone else's perspective, you would say, well, this does not make sense and this does not add up. This is pure conjecture. And am I being
fair point? But then what I would say is, what was the response that you received from the police station?
Exactly.
That you know, what was that all about? You know, what was all about what I witnessed on Saturday? What was that all about? What was that?
Well, I don't know, but really, what did you see?
Wouldn't it be nice if the question was answered, if the proper authorities attended the property, entered the property, and ascertained once and for all, A,
Absolutely.
Are these children in here or not? And B, are these children the Baylis Boys, the children of Jeremy and Marina Baylis, or is there, let's see the Hague order, let's see all documentation, let's have all on the table, shall we? And then everyone's mind can be put at rest. And if there are children in that property, they need to be rescued, and does. And
absolutely. Well, that's what I had in my mind when I went today. I said exactly that. What will it hurt? But we're not interested.
So we're not
that's going to go on my show too. You know, that'll be on my show too. The fact that, you know, if you're consistent one day, then I'll be back, sort of thing. But yeah, I'm concerned. I'm concerned. You know yourself, really. I suppose that a lot of this story.
There's nothing to be concerned. The way I see it, I'm telling the truth as far as I know. So you have no need to be concerned for me. I know what I believe. I'm entitled to my opinion. I have my freedom of expression, my right to freely express myself. I would like the questions in my mind answered, and I have a lot of the same questions that you do, believe it or not, and that's why I think it's really important. That's why I filed the writ of habeas corpus. Produce the bodies. Let's see the children. I want to hear what the children have to say. That's what I want to know. I want to know their version of events. I want to know, A, are those children in that property, and when they are, then say what's going on. So me and you can you know, have our conjecture, and you know, people can say fake paperwork, or they can say the mums made it all up. If there's children there, they are more than capable to speak for themselves and tell the truth. That's what I believe. I believe it's highly important and imperative to ascertain, are there children in that property? I believe there are 4 abducted children in that property. And I'm saying that as a 48-year-old woman. I have a huge concern. I wish the proper authorities, not a bunch of hoodlums, but the proper authorities to enter that. Fine. If there's no one there, then we all know the truth. If that is the truth. If the children are in there, then we all know the truth. If that is the truth. Well, then it will just progress to they've moved them somewhere else, and then it will start again. Well, no. At the end of the day, as I said, this has to be put to rest. It has to be put to rest. It doesn't have to go on and on and on, and they've moved on this, that, the other. Right now, I'm aware that those children are in that property. I think the proper authorities should tend, and that's just the way it is. And nothing's going to change my mind over that, because that's the right thing to do. I don't think anyone would deny you that the authorities should review such an allegation. Absolutely.
be on the show. So you're on a lot of radio shows and social media and things
No,
like
I don't tend to. I like working behind the scenes. This all up and forward in the sky really doesn't suit me. I don't like it. So I'm putting the information out there. I'm telling
I was
you.
just going to say, how can people help you? How can people help?
Well, I think the best thing to do would be to, A, contact whether it's your local police or Scotland Yard or whoever it may be to attend the property. Can we find out instead of the response that you got, not interested.
Yeah.
But, what the thing is, I could be anybody. You know, if you, for instance, found that there was a brothel in your area and you went into the police and they gave you that response, not interested. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's not the correct response. Every allegation needs to be investigated properly, because this is the problem with all this historic abuse, isn't it? None of these excuse me. None of these historic allegations were investigated properly. So let's investigate this one properly, shall we? Let's investigate it properly. Then we know. But sweeping under the rug, as has been done in the past, and then in 20 years it all corrupts up, and there's how many more victims that didn't have to be. That's foolish, isn't it? It's foolhardy. Logic and reason has to come in.
Can I go back there to a bit about the MP? How do we know that he has rented this property and that he's involved in this?
Well, as I said, I think we need to rescue the children, and I think the children can speak for themselves and the people they've seen and what they've witnessed.
But before that, that's a major allegation to make. How do we know there's any truth in this? Where is this come from?
I'm still going to make the allegation. As I said, you can keep challenging me and say it's scary stories from the mother. It's irrelevant. I'm still going to make the allegation.
I'm just trying to put the things. So where did that story come from then originally? That this flat is rented by.
Who are the people in the pedo ring? Think about it. It takes social services. It took doctors. It took changing the name. It took Vince Cable MP setting up the flat.
How did we know that? I keep saying that. I know you repeat that because it's part of the story, but how do we know that happened? How do we know he rented that flat? Do we have any evidence at all? Other than the mother's word, do we have any evidence of that?
I have
I'm
no
not saying
idea.
it isn't because I don't know either, but do we know?
I appreciate what you're saying. I think that it would be noteworthy to go to council, find out, as the neighbor said, is this temporary emergency accommodation or is it not? Was it granted to Dennis Gordon Neeson or not? Is he still the tenant, or indeed are these new tenants such? You know, there's a lot of questions for the council need answering. And if it was granted indefinitely, as I was told, well, who suggested that? You know, as I said,
it was granted indefinitely.
Of course, the mother.
And who told you it was rented by the MP?
The mother.
And who told you the boys were at that address?
The boys.
How do they know what address they're at if they're kept inside?
Oh, they have limited freedom. They do. You don't understand what I saw, mate. You do not understand what I saw.
I don't. No, I don't. I want to. I really want to. I really want to understand. I do. Trust me. I promise you. I really do. Like everybody. I go right to the heart.
If you let me finish, what I saw were eyes watching from many different corners. That's what I saw. When it was the people in the flat, the guy in the van, the guy in the park. They're watching for each other. That's how they operate. They work together. They communicate well together. I believe I saw a pedo ring live in action last Saturday. That's what I believe I saw. And and this is how they get away with these things, because they have key people in key positions, don't they? And also, key members of pedos in communities, and they all work together. That's how they get away with it, mate. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but it's the way it is. And in my estimation,
I investigate these things. I investigate these things all the time. I've done shows about the paedophile connection. I've spoken to all sorts of people. I investigate this stuff all the time. This is what I do. This is what I do. And I'm for everybody because I just want to get to the truth. And I'm not an apologist as to how I get there, really. But I want to get the truth. And we still haven't got any evidence that it was anything to do with MP. And it does worry me that you know, you would just take that, run with it. There's no evidence at all.
Well, I'll still say it because it's what the boys say, and I'm sorry, I'm going to give them a voice, whether anyone likes it or not. I'm not going to apologize. So I'm not.
But the boys know that
these boys are witnesses, and that's the end of it. They're witnesses against present-day government. Whether people want to accept that or not, that's your choice. Whether I can't control the police. I can't control the population. I can't make people care, can I? All I can do is try and give them boys a voice. And I appreciate what you're doing. You know, you want to get to the truth, the bottom of it. So do I. And the bottom of it, I believe there's 4 abused children that need to be rescued over there in where they are. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm getting a little bit frustrated, to be perfectly honest with you, because I'd like to think that when abused children come forward, they're heard and they're not poo-pooed, to be honest. And this seems a bit of poo-poo to me, and I'm not enjoying it because I'm thinking about those children over there being scared right now, rather than all this poo-poo.
Well, I told you what I did today, so you know I'm on side of the truth. You know where I went today.
Well, I want the truth, too. I want the correct authorities to go attend the property and enter it, and let's make sure there's no damn children in it, shall we? But they won't do it because there are.
Yeah.
They poo-pooed off you because it's the truth, mate.
You're Navy SEAL. You're Navy SEAL. You're Navy SEAL. No. I'm trying desperately to bring his name in to my head.
Jeremy, the father.
Thank you.
Jeremy Baylis.
Do you know what I do this time? Do you listen to my shows? I say, you know that man that was with the woman who had the dress and his names, they go in one hole and fall out the back of my head. They've been doing it for years. Yes, Jeremy. Sister says he was there for Navy SEAL. His sister.
Okay.
No, sorry, his ex-wife.
Okay. Well, I have no idea, but that's between them two, isn't it?
I don't know. I'll just investigation. And she has wedding photos too, which are the same.
Well, as I said, I'm here to give a voice for the children. I'm interested in proper authorities attending the property to make sure that if there are indeed 4 abducted children, they are freed. That's what I'm here. I'm not here to talk about me. I'm not here to talk about you. I'm not here to talk about Marina or Jeremy or his sister. To be honest, I don't give a rat's ass about none of them. I don't give none about none of you either. So you know, I care about them kids. That's what I'm interested in. So if you want to talk about all this poo-poo stuff, I think we should end it.
We call it evidence.
I'm not interested. I'm interested in the kids. I'm interested in the proper authorities attending the property. I'm not willing to discuss to the moon and back and this and that. Look, the police need to attend the property. They need to take the allegation seriously. They need to attend and stop sweeping under the rug. I'm not willing to discuss the ins and outs of a duck's arsehole. I've had enough. I think the proper authorities need to attend the property. I'm hanging out.